We're
All
back
right.
with another special edition. We've got a very special guest, world-renowned, award-winning guitarist, vocalist, songwriter, the Colonel himself. It is Steve Cropper. Steve, welcome.
Thank you.
Great to
Glad
see
to be here.
you, as always. Now, obviously, we have Friendly Town, and what an amazing album. You've got some great songs on here and support, of course, from people like ZZ Top's Billy Gibbons, Queens,
Yep.
May, the single Too Much Stress, even Simon
Right.
Kirk's
And Tim
Bad
runs down.
Company. Yeah, even Felix Cavallari, our buddy from the Young Rascals. What are you most excited about this collection of songs?
I think the first two, I really get excited about Friendly Town and Too Much Stress.
Yeah.
Billy is such a great player. So is Brian May. He's just an incredible guy. I mean, his vocal arrangements are mind-boggling. He did all that stuff for Queen, all the vocal arrangements and everything.
Oh
It's
yeah,
hard to,
he's one of a kind, that's for sure.
for sure.
Well, it's an amazing collection. Stands up amongst your very, very best. We encourage everyone to check that out. I wanted to ask you, Steve, tell us some of the stories behind some of these classics. I know Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, written with Otis Redding. Tell us that
Right.
tale.
Well, the story of that song is pretty simple. He called me something he never did, ever. He did it one time only on Dock of the Bay. He called me from the airport, said, I just want to see if you were there. I'm coming right down. I got a hit. And he did. He had Dock of the Bay. And so it's funny. We got him longer that time than any time. We always got Otis for like a day, day and a half, and that's about it. One day of recording and a half a day to put together. That was about all we ever got of those. And since 63. So these arms of mine were done in one take, and then the next morning we were cutting the flip side, and that had happened in one take. And I always thought Otis was a roadie. I always thought he was older than me by a couple of years, but he wasn't. We were the same age.
Wow.
So he was born about a month before I was, and he was born in September, and I was born in October. So we were the same age. I didn't know that till I read his obituary that we were the same age. I had no idea. And they said, what would he be doing today if he was still alive? I said, I hope he'd be singing Dock of the Bay. So to tell you that story, he did. He came down and he said, get your guitar, and I did. And I had it tuned to a chord just like he did his. So you get your guitar. He always called him a guitar. He didn't have his with him that day. And he started singing These Arms Are Mine, and, not These Arms Are Mine. He did it the first time I auditioned, but Dock of the Bay. And I said, Otis, if a ship rolls, it's going to take on water and sink. He said, no, Papa, that's what I want. You never did argue with Otis. He was so big that you didn't argue with him. 6'3", weighed 210. What did you say in Tramp? I'm such a pretty fair skin. He'd always figure out a way to rhyme things. He'd say handle instead of candle. Instead of candle, he said, put a little thing on there, light your candle, because Mama's so hard to handle now. Instead of candle and handle.
Well, there we
He didn't say it
go.
properly. He didn't that. There you go.
You
That's
collaborate. You collaborate, of course.
I did. And if you see his name and my name on the same song, it's usually about him. He was so easy to write about. He was just amazing. And so it was easy to write about. So it's all true. All that stuff is basically true. Just making it up.
We love it.
And what was the song? 634? No, not 63. Fa 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 fa. He was giving me his sound of a saxophone. Pa, 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 pa. I said, there's a song right there. Pa, 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 pa. I've been singing these sad songs. Sad songs is all I know. Okay.
Well, we love that. I know you collaborated on at least 7 or more albums with the great late Otis Redding, but technically,
Right.
You were pretty much involved with every record issued by Stax Records from the fall of '61 through the end of
Pretty much.
1970.
And I still say to this day that the best singer we ever had at Stax was Johnny Taylor.
Oh yeah.
And they said, he's better than Otis Redding. I said, I don't know, but I just know he's one of the greatest singers we ever signed to Stax. Said he wasn't as successful as Otis, but he could sing, and so could Otis. Otis's way. I wouldn't necessarily say Otis was a great singer, but he was a great interpreter.
That's for sure.
Johnny Taylor was a great singer, but Johnny would get a royalty check, go back to preaching. When the money ran out, he'd come back and make another record. So the thing with Johnny was we didn't have album like we should have, and so we were a long time between albums on Johnny Taylor, between records and albums. So,
Well,
and when I was coming up, albums were full of hits. They're the best of the artists, and when I was coming up, and they said, you know, we don't put out records anymore. We drop them. I said, when I was born, when you dropped a record, break it 1,000 pieces.
yeah,
They don't understand that.
I love it.
Matter.
I love it. So now you actually you redid "Sitting on the Dock of the Bay" with Sammy Hagar. Tell us about that remake.
For well, the Roadie, I think, was a movie. We did that with Sammy's, and Sammy was on that show with James Burton too, and that's the first time I met Brian May. Was at that. He was here, it was downtown, and James is still around, but he's in the hospital right now. He's not doing too well, so we got to get him feeling better. Pray for old James. And he lost his son about a year ago, so you know James is a good friend. Oh, and he and I are playing on a Mark Knopfler song.
Oh, that's incredible.
That'll be at I think Mark is going to have everybody over to Royal Albert Hall sometime who played on the record. Everybody's on this record. On this thing, and from what's his name to what's his name from what's his name and Joe Bonamassa on it, and
okay,
the guy from Australia that's married to the Australian actress.
Oh, you talking about Keith Urban?
Keith Urban, yeah, he's on it too.
Fantastic. Well,
I wish I had a list of everybody. So I can't think of everybody right now.
Oh, it's a long list.
My engineer had a hold of it one time. We were the first ones, and then we did James, and we did all of the ones I just mentioned. And Mark took it over, and he's got some other guys on it.
Well,
and we're all doing about 2 bars a piece or something like that.
Well, of course, they all love you, Steve, and what influence you've had on so many people. Talk about the song.
We've had a lot of fun.
Talk about the song "Knock on Wood." The song you wrote with Eddie Floyd, "Knock on Wood." Tell us about that one.
Okay. Well, Eddie says, I want to write a song about superstitions. I said, okay. So we worked for about an hour and a half and never could get anything going. And I said, what do people do for good luck? He said, well, they kind of on wood. I said, that's our song right there. He used to do that. He'd do the knock on it with his mouth and his tongue.
Okay.
I can't do it. But anyway, I thought I could, but I can't anymore. So that's how we come up with Dock of the Bay, with not Dock of the Bay, but with Knock on Wood. I don't want to lose this good thing that I've got, because if I do, I'd surely lose a lot. Because your love is better than any love I know. It's like thunder, like lightning. The way you love me is frightening. I think I better. On wood. Baby, yeah.
Do the best songs come fast? Some of your best ones.
Some of them do. Some of them write themselves real quick, and the others take 2-3 days to write. So it just depends on what it is. So we were doing. We demoed 634 before Wilson came in, and he liked it. And we wrote that. So we did both songs in the session the same day. The next day, 9:30, we wrote that night. So I thought the session was over, and it wasn't. And so Wilson called me from the motel. So what time are we writing tonight? I said, oh boy, it's back on. So I could tell you that story too, but it'd take too long to tell it. If I got time, I'll tell that story.
Oh, please tell it.
So we had demoed the song for Wilson the night before, and so when we picked him up at the airport, we took him straight to the studio, and so Eddie hands him a set of lyrics, and we go to the control room, put on the demo and 634. And all of a sudden, across my eyes, I see this wad of paper come across. And the next thing I see is a big guy tackling another guy, flew right across me and tackled him. And they're wrestling on the floor. I said, oh my God, the session's off. So that's why I said, oh, it's back on again. So when they got what I didn't know, they were in the same group that they used to wrestle around all the time. So this is nothing new to them. It was new to me. I'd never seen it before. So Wilson calls from the rain and says, "What time we were riding?" I said, "Oh my God, it's so long." So as I'm turning into the rain, I look up and see a Coca-Cola sign. It says Coke 99.5% won't do because Coke is 100%. Oh, okay. So 100% of your love, 99.5 just won't do. Got to have 100% of your love. So that's how we wrote that song. We cut them both the next day, both number songs. That's weird, but that's what happened in Stax from time to time.
Well, that's amazing. Being part of the Stax Records
Yep.
house band. This was like every day. You're in there cutting different singers, different
Doing
artists.
something every day. If I wasn't cutting, we were listening or writing, one or the other. So we usually write when an artist was on the way in. That's when we write. So some things were written overnight. Some things take several days to write. Some
Yeah.
things never made the session because they didn't get finished. But we had a good title. We always had good titles.
Oh yeah, got to have a good title.
I still like a title that writes itself.
That's it.
So if
Starts with
a
a
title
title.
is good enough, what'd you say?
Yeah, it starts
I
with a
heard the word
title. If you got a good title, you're halfway there.
I give you a title that writes itself. Who's stalking who?
I love
That's
it.
a good title, and so I may write that one with what's her name, Irene Kelly.
Okay.
The bluegrass artist. She went from country to bluegrass. So I've already had a #1 record with her. Called Anything to Help You Say Goodbye. Anything to help you say goodbye. Had a #1 bluegrass. So I called Eddie one day. I said, I knew that Billy Burnett and I wrote a song back in L.A. at his house out in the valley. And I said, it just fit right in with the tempo I was listening to on the bluegrass station. Bluegrass Junction, I think is what I listen to on Sirius. So sometimes, and I punch back and forth. So if Blues Junction, BB station, is in a commercial or something, I'll push a button and go over to another one. And then I wait till the commercial's over and then I go back. So I go to the studio. I said, Eddie, my partner, Eddie Gore, I said, Eddie, give me the best bluegrass band you can find. So we cut that song. And then I write one with Irene. I write Anything to Help You Say Goodbye with Irene. And we had a #1 record with it. A #1 on New Bluegrass. Not #1 on Billboard or Cashbox or one of those. Not #1 in the world, but #1 New Bluegrass.
There you go.
So it is what it is.
Well, Steve, talk about this song "In the Midnight Hour." It's so loved, been covered a million times. What's the origin
that was
of
not
that?
my idea. I mean, I was, but mainly Wilson came down and I said, I don't even know who Jerry's bringing down. He said, I'm gonna bring down Wilson Pickett. I know he'd get along with Steve real good. I said, I don't even know who this guy is. I never heard him before. And Miss Jackson, who had the satellite record shop, she said, I think you've heard him in gospel. I said, really? Okay. And he said, oh, I'm going to see my Jesus in the midnight hour. Whoa, in the midnight hour. See my Jesus in the midnight hour. And I said, that's his epithet right there, epithet. So that's his calling card, midnight hour. So that's where that came from. He wrote, don't fight it. You got to feel it. Don't fight it. You got to feel it. There you sit all by yourself. Everybody dances, can't help themselves. That's it. And midnight hour, I remember Jerry dancing around the studio. Jerry Wexler was dancing around the studio. And he was doing a pull-down thing. And it looked like he was shadowboxing. I said, Jerry, what are you doing? He said, it's a new dance they got up in New York. He was a jerk. I'm going to wait till the midnight and you pull your hands down. That's it. So they said, why was last night? That was my high school band. Why was that so famous? I said, I don't know, but I did remember one. I only remembered it about 2 or 3 years ago. I said, the first time I played the record to my mom, she started doing a twist. I just thought it was a good tempo. Da 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 da. It's definitely a twist song. In those days, the twist was a big thing. They had Chubby Checker had a thing of it, and Hank Bell and the Midnighters had the original. Then Chubby Checker came out with it, made it a super rock hit. And then Pat Boone did it, and somebody else did it. I don't know. It's crazy. So we wrote one in that tempo. Da 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 da. So they say there's no guitar on the record, so I'm not on it. Yes, I am. I'm playing the organ on it, playing an organ note. You can hear it on the record. Bing, one single note when the piano player plays a solo.
Beautiful.
He
Well,
said, I can't play both at the same time. I said, well, okay, I'll play it. When you move over to the piano, I'll play it.
Well, talk about coming up with
But he
Green
said,
Onions. You know, Green Onions was such a breakthrough for Booker T and the MGs. Talk about that one.
I know. I feel so removed from that song. It's amazing. I was about 20, 21 when we did the song, when we cut it. 21, 22. Booker said, you got to stop introducing me to 15. Man, I was 16 years old when we cut Green Onions. I said, okay, Booker, I'll remember next time. I want to introduce you to 15. The crowd goes nuts when he was 15. He wrote that song. He was 16. He might have been 15 when he wrote it. When we cut it, he was 16.
Wow.
So we were just clowning around in the studio on Green Onions. And I thought the singer that we were there on a Sunday to do the singer, and I thought he never showed because he never came back to the studio. Miss Action had the record shop. Said, well, he did come down, but he came to the record shop. Couldn't talk. He'd been singing all night long on Saturday night. So Sunday morning he got out of bed. He couldn't say his name hardly. That's why he didn't come back to the studio. He knew we'd make him sing, and he said I couldn't sing. And he was the voice of Dr. Fisher's Elixir. Billy Lee Riley was his name. He was a country artist in a way, and Billy Lee. So Jim heard him and thought he had a good voice, and he probably did. I mean, he had a great voice. We never did cut Billy Lee. He cut somewhere else. And so we were just clowning around in the studio with the song, the flip side of Green Onions, a blues thing. We just play it as a filler in F minor. And so Green Onions, I think, is in F minor too. And that's what I musically, I think, makes it so good. There's no minor third in Green Onions. It's minor, but it's not a minor. There's no minor third. So you don't hear it, so you just think it's major. It sounds major, but it's not. It's minor. Dun, 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 dun. So the other thing, all the guitar players want to know how I got that sound on the opening thing, that change. So that's the only change that was made production-wise. Jim Stewart said, Steve, you know that thing you're doing in the middle? I said, yeah. He said, put that on the front. And then when it comes to that section in the middle, just play a solo, regular solo. Okay. And that was the take. Third take. First one, we ran it down. Second one, there was that one. And the third one was Jim making changes. There was no need to cut a fourth one. We never did cut a fourth take. No need to. Jim said, I think that's it. You better come and listen to it. So Jim said that was it. That was it.
There you go. Yeah. How about Soul Man? Because Sam and Dave's version and the Blues Brothers, they shout you out. Play it, Steve.
I didn't write Soul Man. Yeah, I said
you
I didn't write
contributed
the song.
to
It's a Hazel Ford song, but I've been the other half to play it all my life.
Well, that's it. You've been playing it with the Blues Brothers and Sam and Dave and all that. Play it, Steve, is that classic line.
In a minute. So this song, so Isaac comes back in the control room and he says, I know you're not supposed to be disturbed when you're mixing. I said, yeah, you're right. And he said, I know David David Porter and I have a hit for tomorrow's session. I can't come up with an intro. He said, I was known as the intro guy at Stax. Because of Knock on Wood, I guess, at midnight hour, and I played it louder so you couldn't talk over. So DJs could not talk over. You're a DJ. And I just thought it was the loudest thing in the song is the intro. Why? Because I got to listen to the radio. I listen to radio all the time. And DJs would talk up until the singer started. No matter how long the intro was, they just do commercials or whatever they do until the time the singers come in and they'd stop and the singer would start singing. And I said, well, I got to do something. They can't do that. So I did. So Isaac said, I know you're not supposed to be disturbed, but I've got to come up with an intro for this thing. I've been working for over an hour and I can't come up with one. I said, okay. So he said, get your guitar, and I did. And I come up with the piano. I said, well, play something. He said, no, you play something. I said, no, you play something. And he said, I don't know anything. I said, well, just play the song so I get an idea how the song goes. So he started playing, and I just started with those hammer licks. Da 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 da. That's all it is. Da 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 da. That's all it is.
Wow. Well,
that's my Soul Man story. Do what?
You've also collaborated with half of the Beatles, John Lennon and Ringo Starr, of course, on the Ringo and Goodnight Vienna album, Vertical Man. Of course, John Lennon on the legendary Rock and Roll album. They really appreciated your music. What was it like working with John Lennon and Ringo Starr?
It was just great. He was something else. John Lennon was great, but he really finished his album up in New York. That rock and roll album.
Yeah.
I think he finished in New York. I'm on there for beef jerky and one other song. I think I don't know, beef jerky or something. So Ringo. So George had written this song for Ringo. He knew Ringo was going to do an album, so he started writing a song for it. And the demo was terrible. The guys just didn't understand it because it was so bad. They're used to copying demos, I guess, starting there anyway. And they do that in Nashville. They do it in LA too. And a lot of singers in LA sing ghost singers. Well, the Beatles didn't. They could all sing. So anyway, I didn't know Ringo could sing. I just thought he was a drummer, but he could sing too. So anyway, Steve Perry, the producer, was going to throw this song off the session. I looked at Nicky Hopkins at the time when Nicky was still alive, and I said, Nicky, let's go out and put a groove on this thing. So we did. Next thing I know, Ringo sat down. He said, man, that's good. And then Kellner sits down. Then Fox came out. We had the track. About 2 takes later, we had the track. Every time I see your face, it reminds me of the places we used to go. All I did was bring the tempo up. Every time I see your face, it reminds me of the places. So when George did his demo in his living room, he said, every time I see your face, it reminds me of the places we used to go. Oh man, that is awful. I don't care what anybody. I mean, I know I sound bad on it, but he did too. He sounded pretty bad, and he's a great singer. He sounded bad on this song. Not bad meaning good, bad meaning he's sounding awful on that song.
Well,
so I knew what I was talking about. I said, Nicky, let's you and I go put a groove on this thing. He said, okay. So we went out there, and that's all I did. Much like Green Onion or Dock of the Bay, yeah. I played both guitars, Dock of the Bay. So Otis never heard the guitar licks, the waves of the seagull.
Oh my gosh!
I used that the next day, mixing it.
Look at that. Well, you've recorded many albums with Rod Stewart, and you collaborated with the late great Jeff Beck. What was it like working with Rod and Jeff?
Well, Jeff, let me tell you about Jeff. So what happened with Don Nix, and Don Nix and I are the only 2 left out of the original band in Messi, the high school band. We're the only ones left alive. So Don's the same age I am, by the way. And he had Alabama State Troopers at one time. So he goes up, he's producing Freddie King, I think. And Freddie, he wrote lyrics to Going Down, 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 Down. There used to be a restaurant at the end of the block. And what was her name? May, I think. And so I pull my car in one day. I look up and there's a new sign that says Slim Jenkins joint somewhere in the studio, and I wrote, had to say da 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 da. And so I had that lick, and I played that, and I said that's Slim Jenkins joint. So Booker came down and we put it out. We cut it at Slim Jenkins joint. And when we put the record out, they said we got to change it. It's too suggestive, so we changed it to Slim Jenkins Place. It's the same thing, same song. So I got my money back on. I didn't lose anything on Jeff Beck. Oh, Jeff covered that song. He played so good. I said, as a guitar player, I'm sitting there watching him. I said, you can't get that there. I play guitar enough to know you can't get that lick there. Anything in Jeff's head, he just reaches for it and gets it. Makes it sound like he's hearing in his head. Oh, he is an amazing guitar player. So
Absolutely.
That's my Jeff Beck story. And I'm thinking, go ahead.
Well, we appreciate all that you've done, Steve. You've inspired generations. We really encourage everyone to check out Friendlytown. Absolutely amazing album. We wish you the best, and blessings to you, your family, and all your friends. You've left us with lifetimes of music, and we can't thank you enough for all that you've done.
Thank you. Appreciate it. My pleasure. Glad to be there. Hell of a ride.
Can you give us a quick shout out? Let them know it's Steve